Um, and I'll just say, so the feedback positive. I think there was an appreciation that the committee had listened to the public, had reflected some of their concerns, particularly those concerns voiced in the first community listening session. And that was integrated in there, not just in the top level, but really in those action steps, and maybe some of the reordering of those. The really strong support, it weaved through the whole plan, but particularly the idea of One Berlin. That was an action step in strategy one. That came up in various comments. You can see in the responses to the survey, there was a couple of mentions in there that they didn't particularly say the action step of One Berlin, but that unifying of the community came up in people's comments. It also came back in our sessions that we heard from people. Another theme in the feedback, people are concerned about affordability. There were some questions, what does affordability mean? But the fact that people are concerned about that as citizens of Berlin. So that was a strong theme. I think it comes up in a couple of areas in the action steps. One of them is a very long, more of an engaged study, but some things that maybe there may be strategies that may buffer some of the affordability issues, particularly around housing in Berlin.
John, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm getting messages that the stream is
It's
down.
back on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I will say, so I moderated the community session at St. Paul, and there was, I don't know that anyone put their name down, but there seemed to be a lot of engagement, people that were there, particularly in some of those action steps where you need community partnerships or individuals maybe to be a cheerleader or information gatherer in the community. There was a strong sense that people were engaged to be involved in the implementation of the strategic plan. There was a potential edit, and I'm going to bring this up. We can make this change, or you can leave the plan as it is. In value, the sixth value, which was vibrancy. So the wording on that is currently embracing growth, future-oriented through innovation, preparation for the town's future. And the potential edit to that from feedback was embracing infill growth. So I put that forward to you as a council, whether that's something you would want to edit it to, or to leave it more open and less focused.
How does the group feel?
That's a pretty good question. I mean, because that's something that we've been talking about a lot lately.
I think that, yeah, for me, I mean, I have no problem with infill. I have no problem with that word.
But
Like,
does
so-
does growth just involve
I was going to say
use of land?
infill and responsible growth. Or reasonable growth.
Did the infill comment come in relation to like land
Annexation.
and things of that nature? I think that's where they're going.
I think that's, that's
right.
the spirit is that the, I believe that the growth focus would be within the current borders of Berlin versus annexation.
But growth could also mean that we adopt new technology or growth, or am I misreading this?
No, I agree with that. I felt it was more general.
Right.
It was more like,
I think the comp plan
spiritual, mental
addresses-
growth, community growth. I didn't really see it as strictly to development or planning. While we've made that very clear that infill development is what we're focused on in the past, I personally am fine without infill.
Well, and to that point, I think the comp plan would address
Yeah.
the growth specific to land. Because as an employee, if I was looking at this and saying that an employer embraces growth and future oriented, it could be position driven or changing and adapting the role or scope of the work that we do. Right? And
Yeah,
and
and
this-
so, again, I'm bringing it to you as a, whether or not that's from your opinion, this is just from comment. That's one that I saw was probably really looking at editing. I will say some of the other questions in the comment period were a little bit like that, clarify. And once people clarified what some of the wording meant, they were more comfortable with the wording.
Should we create two different statements, one surrounding land use versus other types of growth?
I guess my question or comment
To
with
be
that.
clear, the compact could handle the land part.
What's that?
The compact could handle that part, and this could be the strategic.
This is our plan.
Yeah, I mean, you could.
Is growth addressed elsewhere with more specification? Like, you know what I'm saying? Are we talking anywhere other than that statement in this vibrancy where we talked about growth on a more specific basis? Because if we did, then that would be, in my mind, if you don't keep that infill or add that infill portion, but you talk about growth and then go get more specific as to the types of growth we're talking about, be it the infill growth or the growth on a,
So these were a part of the community values, so it really is the portion that it's looking at what principles the town is basing its
Okay.
future off of. So this is the only section where it really kind of identifies what growth is. We don't really go into the definitions of each of the values.
So I remember this comment came up, and it was surrounded, the discussion was surrounded by developers building outside of our town limits. And so we wanted to protect that potentially. And that's why we use the word infill.
infill.
So it was land-based, at least that's how I remember it.
What about on page, and I'm just throwing this out there as an idea, it's on page 48 of the packet, I think. I think it's 48. And it's driving strategy 3, improving and expanding infrastructure focused on reliability and safety. What about under the improvement of water and sewer system efficiency? Because really, we could tackle, if they don't have the water and sewer pipe, chances are they're not going to annex. So if we say that we're focusing on that infill capacity somewhere in here, or adding another action step.
I don't know. I mean, when I look at this and I'm thinking about value, because when Jessica mentioned, and my brain when I was listening to John, I was really listening. But when I was listening to him, I wasn't focusing in on this section being highlighted as quote unquote community values. So if we're looking at it as community values and one of their biggest set of values or virtues, for lack of a better term, I'm using the right word here because I'm here at 5:30 or 7 o'clock. I mean, and I'm feeling guilty and nervous because I see my former educators in the audience and it's making me nervous about my verbiage. So I think maybe we should keep infill in there. Because we're talking values, and if that's one of their the community's major concerns is this is a part of their value system. You know what I mean? If it were just generally stated,
Yeah.
then I would say.
Well, I don't find it offensive in any way, so I'm not, it's a mix-up. I will go with the majority on this one. You know, if the majority wants infill in there, I'm going to argue that.
So what's the majority here?
Well, I would ask that if you're wanting to keep it in vibrancy, that we almost think about adding another line after innovation and preparation for town's future, and then add something there at the back end that says infill as it relates to growth. Or is it possible to add like a annotation below it saying growth related to development is preferred to be infill development?
How about prioritizing?
There we are.
Prioritizing land development infill opportunities.
Can we add that on the back side of that?
Yeah, I mean, that
Keeping
that sort of
it-
addresses it in the way that you're prioritizing. You're not boxing yourself in that, because there may be a very compelling reason that you would want something that wasn't infill, but the priority would be towards that motivation.
Can you restate that just one more time?
Yeah, so instead of putting infill in that wording, innovation, preparation for the town's future, prioritizing property development through infill.
That works.
What about, just so that we don't have development twice, prioritizing land use through infill development?
That's right.
Is that okay?
That's good, yeah.
Use through infill development. Okay. Okay. Thank you for that.
Okay, so next steps, this is the only edit that so I will stop here. Are there, having reflected on it for weeks and seen the other public comments, from the council's perspective, are there other edits that have come to mind for you that you may want to address?
Are there any edits or revisions or comments?
I'll have a comment, just
Go ahead.
that, so I was able to attend 3 of the 4 listening sessions. One of the first 2 was very constructive. I think it was, and I felt like at the last listening session, so we had the 2 early sessions, right, the early part of the draft, and the 2 after the draft. I think that you all did a nice job of incorporating the concerns that were expressed at the earlier rounds of the listening session. So I'm very at peace with the document. My question is who is going to hold us accountable to this document? Yeah, so, and because we have seen strategic plans, my day job, they're done, a lot of money is spent on them, and they are put on the shelf. So I want to know how we are going to build in accountability for ourselves, because I think that's what we owe the people that participated in this process with us. And some things that I had in mind was, linking agenda items to certain pieces of this strategic plan. If that's something that we could do. I've said, I've kind of used the town of Ocean City as a little bit of an example of every agenda item has a little link to it, as to why it's on there, what it's about. The proclamations tonight would be part of these, community values. That's really my only concern, because I think the work is great. I think it's been solid. I think I've been pretty satisfied with the community response. It's just moving forward, how do we build in that accountability to keep us we heard from the folks. I just don't want us to forget, because we all get busy in lives, and whose role is it to keep us accountable? Because I hear you, that is us, but we might need a little bit more oversight, as far as that's concerned.
Well, and the nice part, we'll get to the fact that they're going to follow up with us, but the other side of that is the deliverable. Will it be bound in like a binder or something like that, or are you going to send it to us in PDF?
We can do either or.
Well, if you-
We'll certainly send it to you in PDF,
Right.
because for your then distribution and incorporating on your town's website, you're going to want that. But then for your physical copy to see, we'll have you a bound copy that you can then have. But for the public access to it, PDF is.
Right, the desired pathway. But what we can do too, each one of us will have a copy.
Yeah.
We'll pass along a digital copy to the boards, commissions, and committees. And then what we can do is we'll print a copy, and it can sit here. If you choose to set it off to the side when you sit down, that's up to you. But at the end of the day, at least it's in the forefront. And then hopefully, in addition to the agenda items, I would like to see us when we go through our budget side of things too. It gets us closer to that, what we talked about in the very beginning, that distinguished budget award that I'd like to see us get. And Natalie in the finance department would like to see that as well. Part of that is linking expenditures to outcomes and community-driven things. So this really gets us into that respect.
I think also, just to piggyback on that, when we do like staff reports
Mhm.
and the fiscal impacts
Memos.
or whatever impacts it is, how is it related? And they all might not be,
Right.
but how is it related to the strategic plan? Like,
I like those pieces to help keep us accountable. I think that that's definitely one of the missing links in prior years.
You want to talk about the follow-up? When you're going to come in here and hold us to task?
Well, so, here's for implementation. So implementation means you're actually using it, right? So, we built in there a Gantt chart, so you can at least see, these are the action steps that follow a certain timeline. And that may be, once a quarter, you as the council say, how are we doing on this? And there's reasons that timelines may slip. One of the other steps as you go through, we've assigned in there the resources and human resources. But for some items, you may look for a champion either among yourselves as council people, that there may be certain action steps that you have a particular passion for. So you may be the champion. There may be individuals, we have some public works items in there, so maybe someone in the public works department that wants to be champion of some of those action steps. You probably won't have someone on every one of them, but there may be ones that, again, I come back, as you all, as council members, are looking, that you may want to be, there's something in there that really, you're really passionate on, and you're going to watch those, right?
I got dibs on stormwater.
So building a champion somewhere within the town, and it does not have to be either staff or council members. As I said, for some of those items, I remember that, and this isn't an action step, but looking at action steps around some of the steps around physical activity. Someone's like, oh gosh, I remember we used to have a fun run, or those type of things. And there may be someone that says, I love that idea. I'll make sure that physical activity happens. So maybe looking not just internally, there may be members of the public who say, I'm really passionate about that. I'm going to help in getting that implemented. And again, not every one of the action steps, you might not identify a champion, but where there's ones that you can, that'll help keep it on track. So that's the person who's going to say, I'm passionate about this. This is within our strategic plan. This is how we're progressing on it, right? In there, there was, that we would try to complete this in 6 months, right? So it's been 5 months. Here's where we are. This is where we are. This is the reason we've only made it that far, right? So that gives someone that's going to come back to you with some accountability for this. And as I said, we're happy to come over and have a community update with. This may be a good opportunity. One of the items in there was to take activities of the town into other areas of the town. Maybe you figure out a schedule that those community updates, they aren't a council session. I know you all have to work through the logistics of that, but those community updates, could be in other areas of the town, gives a chance for you to go out with that story, and also holds you accountable. Like we're looking at this.
I'd like to see that every 6 months, or at least at the beginning. I'd like to see that twice a year rather than once a year. I think that once.
I think what we're going to do, and this might be helpful, is we'll put a quarterly check-in once it's adopted. We'll check in with ourselves each quarter and then have them come for a 12-month checkup to see where we're at. I think doing 6 months right off the bat, I'd like to have something to show.
I mean,
what we've done.
I hear what you're saying, but my thought is because it is so fresh, if we aren't missing the mark as far as the community is concerned, would you want to wait a year? I wouldn't.
And it's taking longer than we thought, is a legitimate answer, right? We applied for funding for this, but the funding window we thought was going to be, closing in September, it's extended now, it's through December, so we'll have an answer in January. Because it's still, the application, I'm making up something up there, but that's going to happen on things, right? Some of those are going to be reasons, or some reasons, we had something that was more emergency focused that we had to attend to in that area. That doesn't mean we're not still paying attention to it, but in the water and sewer infrastructure, right? So maybe there's there's some emergency reason that you have to not do things, but you're still paying attention. It doesn't mean that you're not prioritizing that, but something that is more urgent may push the implementation of that down.
And those are the kinds of things you want to share in that time, in that 6-month time period, or are you saying a year?
Yeah, I think it's 6 months. I think it's 6 months. You would at least know if there's starting to be activity on those action items, right? You're probably not going to have them.
Yeah, nothing, I can't see anything being,
Right.
anything major being complete, but at least at that point, if there's some, I'm not speaking for all of you, but if at that point in my head, if we're starting something and you want to truly be true to this, you want to have equity in this process, I think that 12 months is far too long of a period to sit down and say, we could have done this. And if we start this process, say in July, and we don't come back to it until June, and we really could have addressed this, say, in December,
Right.
you know what I mean, or January.
So twice a month feedback to the community on where you are on the strategic plan is probably worthwhile. And I'm thinking of logistics on this.
Twice a year, yeah. Twice a year, yeah.
So, Councilmember Nichols, what I'm hearing is a 6-month original check-in, then a 12-month, and then 12 months intervals, or do you want to go every 6?
I think in the beginning, we at least, to do our due diligence, 6 months. I don't know if that needs to be 6 months for just the first year, but let's see where it goes
So
after
then,
that.
for a timeline, let's plan on a 6-month check-in, and then a 12-month, and then for like planning purposes, unless we see the need, it'll be annually after that, moving through. We can add another if we need to, but.
You can make that decision at that 12-month period.
At the 12-month period, I think that would be the place to make that decision. Because that would give us a true picture as to,
How it's going.
yeah,
But we're going to check in with ourselves quarterly as well.
for sure.
So. Okay.
And of course, I have up here, edit as needed, right? Things change. So there may be items in there that, I know some of them are looking at like feasibility in those. So if that comes back one way or the other, that may drive other things that were in sequence with that. So, some of implementing your action plan may take items off of it because you look at it and say, well, that wasn't feasible. We need to circle back and look at other options.
I think it's good. Anything else on implementation from the council?
So here, we're really here for the council, and I'm not sure, I don't know what your process is. If this, edit is accepted is in there, then you come back for another vote for approval.
Well, I mean, I think we've had a lot of public comment on it. Does this group feel that we can open it up to public comment from anyone that's in attendance tonight and then maybe action the final draft? Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
All right, so let's open it up. Anybody in attendance that would like to address the mayor and council regarding the draft or final draft of the strategic plan?
Do we need to do an official public hearing announcement for it? Okay.
Is there anyone that's in attendance that would like to address the mayor and council regarding the draft of the strategic plan before adoption? Okay, seeing none. Would the council like to action the final draft?
I'll make a motion that we approve the strategic plan draft final document with the correct, not the correction, with the revision for the vibrancy that we discussed.
Thank you. And so we have a motion by Councilmember Orris,
Second.
second by Councilmember Green. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect that it passes unanimously with Vice President Burrell absent. Thank you all for the work that you've done. We said that we wanted this before we passed the budget, and hopefully now we have it, and you'll pass that along to us whenever you've adopted those changes.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be, the printed version will take maybe a week and a half, because this is exam period at Salisbury University. We have print shops, and we're already there. But the PDF version will be done tomorrow. And again, thank you all for working very, particularly the two members who are on our strategic planning committee. Great feedback. And again, to all the members who are on the strategic planning committee, both the staff here at the town and community members volunteering their time, giving feedback even when they couldn't attend meetings.
John, Jess, I just want to thank you for guiding us through this process. You've both did an outstanding job. Thank you.
And all the members of the community that showed up. I mean, I really think that this has been at every level involvement, and we really appreciate it. So thank you both so much.
Thank you very much.
Up next is a public hearing regarding ordinance 2024-03, an amendment to chapter 12, titled Elections, Article 1 and 3. The introduction was made on Monday, May 3rd. It's okay. Was made on Monday, April 22nd, 2024. It has the town administrator, Mary Boland, running point, and Kate, if there's any revisions or updates. We're good?
Nothing from the first reading yet.
Perfect. All right, so we'll open up the public hearing regarding ordinance 2024-03. And this was, just so that everybody, I got some blank stares in the audience. This was adding an alternate to the board.
It was adding an alternate to the Board
and
of
topic.
Supervisors of Elections. It was also rearranging some of the language and adding provision to handle a tie vote.
Correct, just so that everybody knows what they're public commenting on, if they choose to do so. So the public comment is
I
open.
think, Mary, can you just give a quick review on the tie-breaking procedure for those who may not be familiar
Well,
with
all municipalities in the state are required to have provisions in their code to address tie votes should one occur. A number of options were presented to the mayor and council, and the option that was or is being incorporated into the code is to hold a special election in the case of a tie vote.
We've decided not to have
The dual-lit dawn.
The dual-lit dawns.
It was a close contender.
Cards and Vegas.
Blood sports.
Right,
Yes,
or the
there were-
selling of the cards, which literally some other towns do. You pull a card and whoever gets the
There
highest number.
are a variety, rolling of dice, pulling of cards, short straw, all kinds of things.
And although the special election does require more work, it was the route that was chosen thus far by the council, because we believe that the people should make the decision about who sits in these seats. So any public comment regarding motion 2024-03?
We have to open the hearing.
Again, I already opened it, and then we started talking. I'll reopen it. It's okay. I'll just bang the crap out of you. Any public comment? All right, we're going to close the public comment. I'll bang it for the third time. We'll take action by the council.
Motion to approve 2024-03.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Nur to approve ordinance 2024-03.
Second.
A second by Councilmember Nichols. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect that ordinance 2024-03 passes unanimously. Thank you. Up next is agenda item number 5, which is the first reading of ordinance 2024-04, our FY25 budget, and the public hearing on that will be Tuesday, May 28th, 2024, in this room. That is a Tuesday meeting because of the holiday. With that, just an overview of our entire budget. We'll start with the general fund. The revenues and expenditures are about $14.2 million. Of that, $2.4 million is a transfer from reserves. $2.8 million is a bond to the Public Works, for the Public Works facility. So all in all, about a $9 million balanced budget, taking those two items out. With that, electric budget is $8.5 million. $1 million of that is for the bond proceeds for the AMI meters, bringing that adjusted total to about $7.5 million. Water, the budget's about $5.4 million. Contribution from reserves, $2 million of that, bringing the budget to about a $3.4 million base budget. Sewer, $7.1 million budget with 2.2 coming from reserves. Total of about $4.9 million once you take that out and adjust. Stormwater has a $1.3 million budget. $388,000 of that is a contribution from reserve, bringing it down to about $869,000. All in all. Anything that I've overlooked, Alan? Thank you so much for your help.
Well, yeah, could I think the tax rate is flat.
Yes, tax rate's flat. This body has worked very, very diligently with our department heads and staff to really craft a balanced budget addressing most of what we would like to see. Of course, every year if we had more, we would like to cover additional things, but I really think this is a good foot forward for Berlin for FY25. So that's the introduction. I don't know if anybody else has anything else they want to add or cover. Okay.
I know it's not a public hearing. Do you ask if they have any questions?
We can, yeah. Does anybody have any questions about the introduced budget? Okay. If you do, you can always call between now and the time that we adopt the budget. The mayor's office number is 410-641-3858. 410-641-3858. That'll go to Sarah, but we'll make sure that we get an answer to your question. You can also email mayorzach@berlinmd.gov. We can get that to the appropriate department to answer the question, and we'll share any questions or feedback we receive with the council. So, thank you for that. All right, up next, agenda item number 6, items for approval. Prior to starting the meeting, staff informed us that agenda item 6A, motion 2024-27, will be moved to the May 28th meeting, which is the Tuesday meeting. So we will begin with agenda item 6B, motion 2024-28, CDBG Citizen Participation Plan, and the mayor's executive assistant, Sarah Gorfinkel, is going to run point. So
Do I need to read the whole?
just use the microphone if you don't mind.
Do I need to read this plan? No. Okay. I don't know.
No, it's part of the record, it's in the packet, it's available.
Just reference the page number for anybody that would like to.
The Maryland Community Development Block Grant Program requires that we update our citizen participation plan, and it is on page 101 in the packet. And it is now updated.
Thank you. So, anything else you want to add regarding the plan, citizen participation plan?
I would just add that we are in the process of applying for the Community Development Block Grant funding for the community center, and the application is due in June 11th. And so between now and then, we will have a public hearing to review it. We'll have the application on display and available for anybody who wants to read it themselves downstairs in customer service after May 28th.
Thank you. Thank you for your work on this, Mary. Thank you for helping mentor Sarah through the process. Among many hats that Mary has worn with the town of Berlin, handling CDBG applications, albeit maybe a couple years ago.
A few. It's amazing though how the dust kind of clears as you dig into it.
Has been one of her duties throughout her tenure. With that, too, I see Gabe in attendance this evening. I'll shout him out, and Commissioner Diana Furnell with Worcester County, connecting Sarah with Miss Washington down in the county, and helping put this on our radar. So thank you so much for that. All right, we'll open it up to any public comment regarding the motion 2024-28 CDBG Citizen Participation Plan on page 108 or 101 of the packet. Any comments? Okay, then we'll ask the council to action motion 2024-28.
Make a motion to approve motion 2024-28.
So a motion by Councilmember Green, a second by Councilmember Orris. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, let the record reflect that motion 2024-28 passes unanimously with Vice President Burrell absent. Thank you. Up next is agenda item 7, Town Administrator's Report.
A couple of kind of quick things this evening. As most folks are aware, I think at this point, the planning office is closed to the public this week. Carolyn was on a pre-planned vacation. However, town hall staff will make every effort to assist where they can, and we are very appreciative of the patience and understanding that folks have at this time. Planning Commission will meet on Wednesday at 5:30. And you had already mentioned that the 27th is a holiday, Memorial Day, therefore the meeting that would regularly be held that evening has been moved to the 28th, the very next night. And I will be taking some vacation time next week, half a day on Wednesday and then Thursday and Friday.
Thank you. All right, any questions regarding the Town Administrator or Departmental Report? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to, thank you, Mary. Thank you, Department Heads. Up next are comments from the public. Anybody that would like to address the Mayor and Council, there's the provision in the packet. I'm not going to read it, but it says 5 minutes. If you'd like to, just approach, just name or entity that you represent or street address. You don't have to give the number, just the street name.
Good evening. My name is Patty Gregorio, and I am the co-owner of Saltwater Media located at 29 Broad Street. I am here as a small business and a property owner since 2013. My wife and I often tell people that selecting Berlin as the location to open our business was one of the best things we could have done. Success isn't created in a vacuum. It depends on neighbors, friends, and fellow businesses. John F. Kennedy was credited with the phrase, "A rising tide lifts all boats," and that truth is evident in our wonderful town of Berlin. I come before you tonight in response to a comment that was shared in the recent Beacon Strategic Planning document. During the SWOT analysis, residents shared their opinions, and there was commentary about woke DEI policies being a threat to the town of Berlin. Specifically, it referenced hanging pride flags and claiming that there is violence towards a group which doesn't exist, none of which I've seen or heard. This person doesn't need to look far to see that threats of violence or actual bloodshed of LGBTQ people. As you may recall, I was the person last April who contacted the mayor and council about donating a flag to the town for display during Pride Month. It was heartwarming to receive an immediate reply agreeing to the flag display, but also being told that the town would be issuing a proclamation recognizing Pride Month, and there would be an official ceremony on June 1st to raise the flag. Honestly, I was thrilled, and the proclamation has been displayed proudly in our office since. A few weeks later, the town made an official announcement about the Pride flag ceremony, which then made its way to social media. The great majority of comments were supportive, but there were a few people who made downright scary threats and said horrible things about LGBTQ people. Honestly, I started to get nervous. Was this going to be safe for us, or was this someone going to quote unquote blow us all away, as one of the threats indicated? One of the comments called us anti-God pedophiles who don't deserve to live, and another said, "When you turn against God, you will pay the price." I was determined to be there, regardless of the threats, and we were welcomed with love and support. As Councilman Orris climbed into the bucket truck to place the flags, I looked around the crowd and saw nothing but smiles and happiness. I have one friend who saw the photo of Town Hall and burst into tears. She had grown up here and moved away years ago, never thinking she'd live to see the day when the town would be inclusive of her. She told me her heart swelled with pride, knowing that this day had come to Berlin. Susan Wimbrow of the Greyhound Indie Bookstore told me just today that June is always a successful month because she flies the pride flag by her entrance. Last year, she was told by multiple customers that they came to Berlin specifically because the town was supporting Pride Month. One of my best days in life was on June 11, 2016, the day that Stephanie and I got married. We enjoyed a lovely celebration with our family and friends and awoke the next morning to the news that the Pulse nightclub in Florida had experienced a mass shooting, leaving 49 people dead and 58 people wounded. It was the deadliest incidence of violence against the LGBTQ community in the history of the United States. The excitement and joy we had just experienced seemed somewhat muted once we learned of this tragedy. People just like us had been gunned down doing basically what we had done the night before, dancing, having fun, laughing, and enjoying life. But circling back to the statement made in the SWOT analysis, is there a threat of violence against members of the LGBT community? Yes, and it's on a daily basis. Just a few months ago, I was verbally accosted while in a public restroom. Fortunately, it did not turn violent, but now I'm extra cautious. My coworker Andrew has experienced threats of violence because he is a gay man. Every day you can go on social media and see threats against our brothers and sisters. So to submit that type of statement to the Beacon Committee is just ignorant. That individual may not see threats of violence because they aren't on the receiving end, but to say that it doesn't exist is delusional. Some are fearful that recognizing diversity makes others feel left out. The opposite is true. By displaying the flag, you are saying that all are welcome here in Berlin, and all will be treated respectfully and celebrated. The rising tide of equality and recognition of diversity in Berlin raises all our boats. I wish to thank each of you for always supporting us and for supporting Pride Month and supporting the LGBTQ+ constituency whom you represent. Thank you.
Before we go, I'll say that as a town and as a council, we just adopted a strategic plan that includes One Berlin, and that includes everybody.
I love to hear that. Wonderful. Thank you all very much.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the mayor and council? Just name an entity or a street name.
My name is Stephanie Fowler, and I'm 29 Broad Street here in Berlin. My name is Stephanie Fowler, and my wife Patricia Gregorio and I own Saltwater Media here in downtown Berlin. As both property owners and business owners, we have always felt that landing in this town, as we did 11 years ago, was one of the best things to happen to us, and I stand by that sentiment tonight. I read some comments online recently about Berlin and objections to the pride flag being flown at Town Hall in the recent Beacon study. And since my wife and I were involved in that last year, I wanted to stand here tonight to speak on this subject, as Pride Month is around the corner and I hope to see the flag again. There are some folks who will say the pride flag is divisive. After all, why should one group of people be celebrated in this way? Why should a town even take such a position? And here's what I have always wanted to say to these folks. The true meaning of the pride flag is not to say that LGBTQ people are better or more special or more deserving of attention. The pride flag is meant to be celebratory, and it is meant to be inclusive of all people. It is meant to honor the lives lost to violence and bigotry, and it is meant to be a reminder of how far our community has come. When the pride flag flies on Town Hall, it is a symbol that all people are welcome here. And I tell you why I use the word all. What I'm about to say, I say with my full heart to folks who see it as divisive. You know us. You know someone in the LGBTQ community. Because we are your family members. We are your neighbors. We are your coworkers, your government officials, the person who may sit next to you in your house of worship. We own businesses, help run nonprofits, we volunteer. We are tried and true members of this community. You know us. And the pride flag is not just for us. It's also for the mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, and aunts and uncles and cousins and friends and teachers of people in the LGBTQ community. Because when they see it, they know their loved one is welcomed and accepted and safe. And isn't that what we want for ourselves and for Berlin? One of the comments I've heard echo is an idea that Berlin could adopt a policy of no special flags, allowing only the American, state, county, and town flags to be flown on government buildings and land. Honestly, I think such a policy would be too restrictive and, quite frankly, boring. Sure, it would kill off the hot debates, and it'll keep the pride flag off of Town Hall. sorry. But what of the POW and MIA flag at our memorial? While that flag is required by law to be flown on certain federal buildings, it could easily fall victim in such a regional policy like this, since it doesn't represent a government entity. What if, with a flag, the town wanted to celebrate Black History Month, or military veterans, or the Little League team making it to the World Series? What if Berlin wanted to celebrate its status as an art and entertainment district with a flag, or show its support for an important cause like autism or cancer awareness? It would be such a shame to deny other groups and causes simply out of a singular desire to see the pride flag tossed to the ground. I know I would hate to see that happen, and I think many other folks in town would agree. Besides, in today's heated and negative political climate, isn't it nice to share in one another's joys? Isn't it grand when we can find something to celebrate? I believe Berlin is at its best when we can celebrate all of its people. This is why I love this town so much. We're all different, and yet we all belong here. I believe we should take pride in our diversity, a quality that can only make us stronger. And I know there are folks who say diversity and pride flags are nothing to be celebrated, but to that I say, well, why not? In the heart of those things, there is love and equality and kindness, and truly, who couldn't use a little more of that these days? Maybe I will never win the hearts and minds of people who think the pride flag is an abomination. Maybe I will never get them to see that we are just regular people trying to do our best and go about our boring lives. But I do know one thing, representation matters, and to see the pride flag flown on Town Hall means that we are all represented in Berlin, that we are all welcome and accepted and safe, and I believe that is a powerful and beautiful message to send to its citizens and visitors alike.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the mayor and council for public comment? Just name and street name or entity that you represent.
My name is Betsy Love. I live at 207 Washington Street. And I wanted to say that until 2013, LGBTQ people hid in the shadows.
Can you maybe, you're a little more soft-spoken, if you don't mind, just make sure the microphone's close.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Until 2013, LGBTQ people hid in the shadows, and our families had to hide the fact that one of us could not love the person whom they loved because bigotry was rampant. I lost a friend in the 80s who was murdered for being a gay guy. Fear was real until 2013, when the state of Maryland, followed by the Supreme Court, finally protected us. So I implore you to protect us and to wave that pride flag proudly.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that would like to address the mayor and council for public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion. I will say, just on the topic of how we typically handle requests, whether it's the pride flag that Patty reached out for, or the autism awareness where we changed the colors of the lights downtown, or going green for veterans that we did with our entire electric department, or flying the Stephen Decatur flags. Typically, the way that we handle that is if somebody has a request, if there's a monetary outfall from the town, like we did with when Patty made her request, we said, can you supply us with the flags? Same thing we did with Stephen Decatur, can you supply us with the flag? And there's been no town outflow of funds to be able to do those things. With that, we handle those requests on a discretionary basis, but we usually try to accommodate, because we do understand that what makes us all unique and what makes us all such a great place to live, and for me, my hometown, and a place that I love, is that we're all a little bit different, right? And we all can still come together around certain fun things, whether that's the pride flag or Stephen Decatur's success, or Little League, or veterans, or autism. And I hope we don't lose sight of that. So thank you. We'll move on to comments from the council. Since Vice President Burrell's not here, we'll start with Councilmember Nerf.
2 items tonight. One, I want to see if we could, on the special event application, and there's one in the packet that we'll address at a future meeting. Could we also have the address of the applicant put on that application as well? So we know where they're from. That's easy. Second item involves the Tracks and Yaks program. These questions are for Ivy, because I think she might be best suited to answer them. I received 2 concerns from citizens that live in close proximity to that operation, and one involved parking. It's my understanding that the Berlin Beer Company is no longer going to allow them to use their parking facility, which pretty much leaves them with no parking. So that's an issue that might have to be addressed. And the other thing is, they've had a porta-john sitting on the street forever, and the neighbors are tired of looking at it, basically. So I don't know if there's anything we can do to address these 2 issues.
I'll reach out to them.
Okay. They might have to locate to a different area, I don't know.
I'll reach out to them.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you. Councilmember Nichols?
I did not, ladies that spoke tonight, I will say that I, with my deepest sympathy, I'm sorry for any ill will that has been brought to you, any cause for fear or discomfort. Berlin is your town, you live here just like the rest of us. I would hate to see that type of hatred, negativity can be put on anybody, regardless of your orientation of any matter. I'm sorry that that happened to you. I'd hate for that to be the case for anybody. That's not kind. That's not human. That's not what we should be doing. At the same time, I will say I've visited another entity in recent days, and I truly appreciate, and it gives you a perspective on how you run business in your own house. I will say this, gentlemen and ladies of the place, the way in which we handle things in this building and on this dais with our town and our constituents and people that make up the town of Berlin makes me proud to sit in this seat, because we may not always agree as an entity, and we may not always agree with what people say out there, but never do we ever clip your tongue and disallow you to speak. So sitting here, being able to openly hear what others have to say, regardless if I agree with it or not, it warms my heart that that's the stance that we take here in the town of Berlin.
Thank you. Councilmember Wards?
Kind of piggybacking on that, I was looking through the Beacon survey and some of the other, specifically with how the relationship is between the governments and the folks. I don't remember when this survey came out, but I certainly hope that we are getting better in areas that people seem to perceive some of the folks that answered where we, in their view, needed some improvement. So I hope it's getting better. I hope people are feeling that way. And that's that. My other thing that I was going to bring up, I was looking through, excuse me, the commissioners are having their budget work session tomorrow, and of course I was looking through that. And I just had a question. I did see a letter of, well, I don't know if it's a letter of support, from the town regarding the Berlin Bikeway project. So I guess my question is, I read the letter, is the Berlin Bikeway the new name for the Rails to Trails?
Yes, so when it was going through the grant phase, we had to give it a name. So it got the Berlin Bikeway from the grant process, and that's what is on our drawings and things of that nature. So just a Berlin.
And then I guess my other part of that question, when I was reading the letter, it seemed to indicate that part of the grant for the idea across 113, the connectivity.
Reconnecting communities and neighborhoods.
Yes. So part of that grant included Rails, Berlin Bikeways?
So the goal of the grant, first of all, is to reconnect communities and neighborhoods. So in an effort to do that, it would be working off of existing plans that we have for biking and pedestrian access, as well as creating new plans if needed. One that existed during the application phase was the Rails and Trails, AKA the Berlin Bikeway. So that was included for $240,000 dollars for that, and that is referenced in the letter to Worcester County.
So then is the design, I know this is all tentative, so is the proposed design still the same footprint as the former Rails and Trails down West Street?
It's the exact same thing. Yep, so the plan is unchanged. It's what was funded by the council, what was designed by DBF. We have the drawings, it's 2 phases, I think, is what we broke it into, not including the part that would go north to Heron Park. So that would be an additional phase.
So as the letter says, so with the success of the federal grant, we're going to try another bite at this apple.
Well, what we had discussed was not
giving back the apple.
giving back the money to the county unless we have to. With that is we have the funding from the federal level to be able to work on the project. And we had asked the county to preserve that money this year, hoping that we would get the grant from the state level. We didn't, and in lieu of that, we got a federal grant that we didn't really expect to get at all. So we had funds come in through a granting agency, albeit not the one that we originally asked the county for, and we're just asking them to preserve that match as we move forward. Does that help?
Oh, yeah, thanks. I mean, that clears it up. And I think that's all I have. So,
Thank you. Councilmember Green?
Sure. So I just want to applaud the courage that the ladies took tonight to come. I think it's very brave, and it was nice to hear from you all. And number 2, your attention to detail, but looking through all those comments, there's dozens there, and some of them I think hit some of us the wrong way as well. I think we, but there are comments and opinions nonetheless. So they should be read, and I think we are a community of differences. I think that is very clear, and I'm glad that One Berlin is a mantra that is stuck, and I'm really proud of that. So I think, you all coming, and clearly you have some supporters with you as well. So we all heard that and took it to heart. And so thank you for taking the time to come out on a Monday night and sharing those views with us. And I will say I personally look forward to the pride flag flying again. Appreciate Councilman Nerve for bringing up the Yaxon tracks. I am a neighbor of that property, and would like to see, personally some improvements, I have to admit. It's a little bit different this year than it was last year. So I appreciate Ivy looking into that and sharing those concerns that Councilman Nerve expressed, but I certainly share them. And then just a couple other things. Really, the farmers market, I just want to applaud, the town of Berlin for the farmers market. It is a destination, and it's amazing to see. Even this past weekend with the weather, I was out of town, but I'm sure it's down for at some point. And but the first week was, it's really something else. I remember that farmers market was I'm local enough to know let's call it the IGA parking lot, and then it was not around any longer for a while. And it's that vibe that is out there. We usually walk through right after church, and there's others that do the exact same thing. It is amazing, and I know it goes without a ton of work. So the new vendors, the petting zoos, it's really unlike any farmers market I've personally ever been to. So thanks to everyone that makes that happen. It's something we should all be proud of. And I look at that farmers market and confirm that there are differences among us. There's a lot of different people that are there, a lot of different folks. I usually pick up some new vegetable terminology as well, the things I didn't know was grown in this area. So, that's really it. I just wanted to, thanks for all the efforts that make that farmers market what it is today.
Yeah, my grandson left there upset on Sunday because it was raining and he couldn't get his face painted. So needless to say, he looks forward to it every Sunday because he wants his face painted.
Mother Nature just wanted to remind us that it was Mother's Day. But Ivy did a fabulous job of talking to Mother Nature and getting that to clear up for us. So, thank you. Up next, comments from the mayor. I want to thank, first of all the citizens, the staff, the committee, and the council, and Beacon for their work on the strategic plan. I know that ours has been outdated for a little while. It's been something that we've all wanted to see updated, and it's like charting a flight or a boat ride without a clear plan in place. And you can't do it. You can't run a business that way. You can't run a municipality that way. So thank you to everybody that went into making our strategic plan really something that I think reflects everybody in our community. With that, I wanted to also say with the Farmers Market, Ivy, you're doing a fabulous job. Your department spearheads that. To watch it grow from something, and we were just talking about this with some other folks that were in town, something that helped bolster our downtown businesses during COVID, to something that has now evolved into being able to close down more areas of the street to be able to encompass the vendors. Like Steve, I see many of our, and just like all of you, I'm sure, see many of our local residents, and you get to learn more about folks when you're seeing them buy something that's a little different or something that I haven't tried yet, and then you can spark up a conversation about maybe ways that you can incorporate that into your own home. So very cool. Thank you again for the work you're doing. The next thing I have is a request of the council. If we can cancel, I know this is really going to make a lot of you upset, but can we cancel the second meeting in June? It coincides with MML. Typically, it's either ESAM or LESMA. I think it's ESAM has their annual dinner that coincides with our meeting. So if you all cancel. Normally it's something about the chair. I usually had Troy and he was yes. But so we've got a motion by Councilmember Nur, a second by Councilmember Orris. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, let the record reflect that the June 24th meeting will be canceled. We will be meeting instead, hopefully seeing everybody since it's on our calendars, for the ESAM dinner to represent Berlin. So that's the Eastern Shore Association of Municipalities. All right, any comments from the press? Mary Hedleski. And then motion to adjourn since Vice President Burrell's not here.
Motion to adjourn.
Councilmember Orris, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you all. Have a great night. Very good. I'm looking for